Greetings and welcome to episode 5 of A Journey. We've been reading the book A Journey, and we're now on chapter 7 entitled Vendange. I'm a little out of breath because I just ran upstairs from downstairs. And I also just read this chapter to the camera, and after I got done, realized that the sound wasn't on. So, oops, we'll try this again. But welcome. Last week we read, what did we read? Emerald Isle. That was chapter 6 about being in Ireland. And now here we are with chapter 7, the Vendange. Journal entry continued. Saturday, 8/21. I met up with Hervé, Elizabeth, Henry, and Bridget last night. I will be leaving on the boat with them in a few hours. Life is really good. From southern Ireland, I would be traveling with my Puck Fair friends on a boat to Le Havre, France. We all met up in the village of Rosslare and from there walked to a spot near the ferry landing where we could sleep on the beach. From our waterfront campsite, we were also able to enjoy a late night skinny dip in the Irish Sea before leaving the beautiful Emerald Isle. Although it was a cold swim, the water felt warm compared to the teeth-chattering dip I enjoyed with Fiona in Dingle. Journal entry, Tuesday, 8/24. Well, the boat ride was nice with the exception of feeling a little rough. And by rough, I mean I felt a little queasy. Although the cruise across the Celtic Sea and English Channel did turn my stomach a little, it wasn't so bad that I couldn't enjoy a bowl of French onion soup that someone had left on a table in the dining area. It seemed like such a shame to waste a perfectly good bowl of soup. Given the same circumstances today, I probably wouldn't eat someone else's leftover soup, at least not someone I didn't know. Life was a lot simpler then, and at the time it seemed like the obvious thing to do. And the soup was delicious. We got into Le Havre Sunday and Henry left for Paris. Hervé and I hitched together and Bridget and Elizabeth went together. Hervé and I got good lifts on that night by two guys and a girl who smoked with us and also bought us sandwiches. We arrived at Hervé's grandmother's yesterday around 3:30. I have met many cousins and they're all really nice. Today I'm writing this from a nice little patio in the backyard. Journal entry, Saturday, 8/28, approximately 1:45 a.m. Thank you, Lord, so very much for such a really great life. While in Killorglin at the Puck Fair, I was invited to attend the wedding of Hervé's sister Swazik. The wedding was to be held not far from the port town of Brest in northwestern France near the Breton Peninsula. For the few days prior to the wedding, we stayed in a wonderful old farmhouse belonging to Hervé's grandmother, where Hervé had visited often while growing up and where he had spent many days exploring the beautiful rocky beaches. One afternoon, we went to the nearby shore of the Atlantic and played on a beach that was totally made up of huge rocks. The game that Hervé showed me was how to leap from one giant rock formation to another without falling off and breaking your neck. It really was fun. More than once, though, I half considered just what bones would likely break if I didn't quite make a jump. The wedding of Pat and Swazik was held in a wonderful old stone castle. What an amazing thing to have been invited to be a guest at this very special event. Although I couldn't understand everything spoken in the vows, it really was a beautiful ceremony. Even more than that, it was an amazing party. Barrels full of French wine, lovely female cousins of Hervé who loved to dance, and a Celtic band providing the awesome traditional music that we danced to. Not only did the band play great music, but they also, and on more than one occasion, invited me to join them during their breaks for a toke. Journal entry, Saturday, 9/4. Beautiful day. Well, Swazik and Pat had a very beautiful ceremony. I met so many really nice people while staying in Kherson, the area where Hervé's grandmother lived. The night of the wedding, I met four people that played in the traditional folk band: Philippe, Jean-Yves, his brother Patrick, and Fabia. I ended up getting a lift to Lorient on Sunday by some friends of Pat, the groom. There I met up with Philippe and we took a boat to the Île Gua, the island of Gua. While at the wedding, Philip had told me that he and some friends would be hitchhiking to the Bordeaux region of France to make a little money working the vendange, or grape harvest. Knowing that I was in search of some seasonal work, Philip was kind enough to invite me to join them. We would first rendezvous with a group of his friends on the beautiful Île de Gua, Brittany's second largest island, located just a ferry boat ride from Lorient. Philip and I arrived in Gua in the evening and met up with the folks that we would be picking grapes with. Our little group included Dominique, Olivia, another Philip, and Mary Vaughan. Oh my goodness, Mary Vaughan. I fell in love with her the first time I saw her. As it turned out, she was girlfriend to my friend Philip from the wedding. Oh well, c'est la vie. We spent a couple days camping on the island, and during that time, I was introduced to their amazingly delicious regional crepes. I'd eaten crepes before, but these were made with a special buckwheat flour and filled with all kinds of local yummy ingredients. So delicious. Journal entry continued, Saturday, 9/4. Philippe, Mary Vaughan, Philippe, the other one, Dominique, Olivia, and myself headed off for the grapes. That's where we are now. We're on a farm just outside of Rozan. The last few days have really been great. Philip is a chef, and Mary Vaughan is also an excellent cook, so we've been eating fantastic food. Last night we had rabbit, and it tasted great. It was the first time I'd ever eaten it. It would have tasted better, however, if I hadn't gone up to the rabbit cage and watched the rabbits the day before. I found out later that we would be eating some of the bunnies. Last night a hedgehog came into our house. He was very shy, however, so I don't think he'll be back again. Lately, I've been giving some thought as to where I'll be going after here. The way I'm thinking now, after Paris, it will be towards Israel. While hitchhiking in England, I was picked up by a young lady in a little convertible, I think it was an MG, who had spent some time on a kibbutz in Israel and suggested that it might be a nice place for me to spend the winter. As the weather was cooling a bit in Europe, Israel was sounding like a real possibility. Well, we'll just have to wait and see, though. Just now I'm sitting in a beautiful little field very near the cement pool where we wash our clothes and drinking a bottle of wine. It's very nice because we get all the wine we want. We did get all the wine we wanted. That is until we sort of exploited the privilege. Not only was wine provided in the field so you could quench your thirst while picking grapes, the kindly proprietors of the farm also gave us free and open access to the wine cellar for afterwork. We'd been provided with a big plastic pitcher that was meant to be used for washing up. Lo and behold, it also made an excellent container for evening wine. It held a whole lot. It also made, it didn't take too many nights of quaffing giant plastic pitchers full of wine for Mr. and Mrs. Vineyard owner to give us a pretty clear message that we had lost our privileges. It was my turn to make the run for wine with the blue plastic pitcher. What was this? The door to the wine cellar was locked. Nobody mentioned that we no longer had an open door policy to the cellar. Surely this was a mistake. Surely they didn't mean to lock us out. Surely I was able to justify climbing through the open window above the cellar door to gain access. Not only was I able to justify climbing through the open window on that occasion, but I also agreed to make a return trip the following evening. This time I was joined by a lovely Scottish lass who was part of a group of Scots that were working at the same vineyard. My plan was to climb through the window and then open the door from the inside so my cohort could help fill containers. We had a large group of Vendange workers back at the quarters and would need more than just the blue plastic pitcher. I did climb through the window and did open the door for my helper. Before filling our containers, however, we were totally and thoroughly terrified by the grandpapa who was waiting in the shadows of the cellar and who jumped out at us holding what I think was a pitchfork. Guess he figured we'd be coming. We ran away without our evening ration of wine, and I think I saw a little smile on Grandpapa's face while we were running away. We understood very clearly after that night that our wine privileges were gone. The seasonal workers at the vineyard were all provided with a place to stay, a place to cook, unlimited wine for a while, and access to a shower. Unfortunately, we all had to share one shower that was set up in a barn. One day after work in the vineyard, I may have jokingly suggested to Mary Vaughan that by showering together we could both preserve water, thus trying to be ecologically responsible, and also cut down on the total time in the shower, thus benefiting the whole group. Much to my surprise, she thought this would be a great idea. Talk about my wildest dreams coming true. This insanely beautiful French girl, girlfriend of Philip, that I fell madly in love with the first time I saw her, girlfriend to Philip, wants to shower with me, girlfriend to Philip. What a weird and wonderful and ultimately uncomfortable situation to get myself into. Our first couple showers together, we were paid a visit by Philip. He wandered into the barn, spoke a little together with Mary Vaughan in French, and then wandered out the way he'd come. He must have decided that he could trust his beautiful naked girlfriend to my capable hands, because our following showers together were uninterrupted. No question about it. The thought of making mad, passionate love to Mary Vaughan did enter my head, a bunch. What would also come to mind, however, was the sound of Philip's voice telling me how much he loved Mary Vaughan. I felt like she and Philip were a very loving couple together, with the exception of her being very amenable to sharing the shower with me, which did add an element of confusion to our simple life on the grape farm. It was all very cool and very hippie-ish, but after a couple weeks of washing one another's backs, I suggested to Mary Vaughan that it would perhaps be better for all of our friendships if she and I stopped conserving water. She agreed. I know for sure Philip was a much happier man. Just a short walk from the farmhouse was the village of Rosan. In the village of Rosan was a cafe that, in addition to being the home to a wonderful big black Bouvier, also happened to be where we would often go for a night out on the weekends, and maybe on rare occasion during the week. It was here that I met many people from all over Europe who were also working the vendange. Among those were a group that had come over from Scotland and who ended up working on the same farm that I was on. Tommy was sort of the leader of this little band of crazy people from Scotland. Somebody in the group had referred to Tommy as mad with it, and it was so true. One evening, Tommy was in mad with it mode as he wore a rubber mask of the then president of France, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, and tried to dance with just about everyone in the room. That wouldn't have been so bad, but he also felt compelled to grab some of the people he was dancing with by the crotch. Fortunately for Tommy, it was a friendly and forgiving crowd in Rosan that night, who understood his drunken condition. Nobody knocked his head off, although, come to think of it, Tommy would have probably have loved a good punch-up. One night at the cafe, I was introduced to two young Scottish lassies who were enjoying an evening out and who managed to give me quite a lesson in the English language. Honestly, I couldn't believe what I was hearing coming out of these young ladies' mouths. Having grown up the youngest of four boys, having grown up near two military bases, and not having grown up in a bubble, I wasn't immune to smutty language. For the most part, however, the people I knew, and in particular the young ladies I knew, could all carry on an engaging conversation without feeling the need to throw in all kinds of four-letter nastiness. Not so with our lovely ladies from Scotland. In the short time we were together, I experienced more feminine foul mouth than I ever had in one sitting. I may have jokingly mentioned to them how unusual it was for me to hear two girls talking the way they were and how it didn't seem very ladylike. They may have jokingly, or not, told me to F off. Journal entry, Sunday, 9/24. Hello, well it's now Sunday and tonight we eat our first meal in the farmhouse. I can hardly wait. The little group of folks that I had come to the farm with were invited to start taking breakfast and supper meals in the farmhouse, in spite of our being wine bibbers. As have been the last few months, the last few days have been beautiful. Yesterday was very special. Last night we went to the cafe and met three people, two from Versailles and one from Paris. They were very nice, and after leaving the cafe, we all had a smoke. Mary Vaughan, Philip, and I then started our journey home. We had the most fantastic, actually it was pretty strange, experience when we got here. We were just heading for the door when we all saw a dolphin. And that's Mary Vaughan's nice kitty that traveled with us from the Uruguay, sitting on a stone wall. I was just about to pet her when I realized that it wasn't a dolphin, but just a bottle and a plastic washpan. We had all seen a dolphin at exactly the same time, and then suddenly the bottle also at the same time. And I really did see, and we all saw the cat. I think because we were all thinking that a dolphin was sitting on the wall, our heads put her there. This was, to be sure, a very unusual experience that none of us were able to explain. While reaching to pet a dolphin and then realizing that it was a bottle and a plastic washpan that I was about to pet, I looked over at Philip and Mary Vaughan and saw the same surprise in their faces that I was feeling. Coincidence? Power of suggestion? ESP? Probably not. I don't know. It did make me consider, though, just what kind of things our minds might be capable of. I know that unusual occurrences happen all the time, and if I'd only had one of this kind of experience in my lifetime, I probably wouldn't even have given it a second thought. It just so happened, however, that I had another coincidence occur just about a week prior while on a little day trip with Philip. We had decided to hitchhike into Bordeaux one Saturday with the intention of buying something to smoke. Philip seemed to think that if we went to a particular park in the city, we would be able to meet someone from whom we could make a purchase. Philip was right, and we did meet an overly friendly, purplish, henna-haired young man in a park who indicated that he could help us with our quest. We followed him to an old apartment building in what appeared to be kind of a sketchy part of town. Philip and I were asked to wait on the street while he went inside to let his associate know that we would like to make a transaction. After what felt like a very long time, our new friend came down accompanied by a young lady. She instructed us to follow her inside the kind of creepy-looking old building and up the dark stairway to where the exchange would take place. This whole thing was feeling more and more wrong all the time. We followed her upstairs in a dark hallway where another guy was standing. We followed her upstairs to a dark hallway where another guy was standing. They insisted that we give them the money, after which time they would go inside an apartment and bring us back our herb. We were left standing in the hall while they walked around a corner out of our sight. This was the last we saw of our new friends and the last we saw of the money we'd given them. So looking back on the whole encounter, I guess we should have just been grateful that we weren't robbed of any other money or valuables which wouldn't have amounted to much of anything, while upstairs in the hallway of a dark, creepy old apartment building with some sketchy folks that were all about ripping people off. After our attempt at buying some pot took an unpleasant twist, Philip and I decided it was time to forget that plan and return to the vineyard. Which brings us back to our little coincidence. We caught a ride in a van and were on our way back to the farm. Neither of us was very talkative, probably because we were both feeling incredibly stupid about losing our money the way we did. In addition to thinking about how stupid I was also thinking about how hungry I was. And how much I was looking forward to eating something when we got back home. In particular, I was thinking about how much I would like to eat pizza. The only problem was we didn't have the capability of making pizza back at our quarters, and the Café in Rosan wasn't in the business of making pizzas. That was just what I would have liked to have eaten at that moment. I asked Philip what he would like to eat when we got back, and he responded with this question: "Do you know pizza?" I realized that this was no big deal and that these sorts of things happen all the time. Had there not been the unusual evening with Philip and Mary Vaughn and Adolphine, about a week later, I probably would have forgotten all about it. I might have still forgotten about both incidents had there not been another strange thing happen in Israel in the months to come. I'll say more about that a little later. Journal entry, Monday, 10/4. Well, we're all finally finished at the farm. I can honestly say that I was ready to go. It got to be really fun the last few days. All in all, I think everybody had a pretty good time at the grapes. Friday night, they even left the cellar door open because they knew we'd be going in. Our gracious employers and owners of the vineyard really did display a huge level of tolerance to our little group of grape pickers, especially when you consider it wasn't just our little group, but also the totally crazy bunch from Scotland as well. All things considered, though, I think we all, even the totally crazy Scots, were hard workers. We played pretty hard, but I think we all worked pretty hard too. We did get the grapes picked, and when all was said and done, we were even given back our wine privileges for the last couple days. My biggest regret about the time on the farm is that after running out of film for my camera, I didn't make an effort to buy more until it was too late. I don't even have pictures of many of the unique and colorful and great people I was fortunate enough to meet and spend several wonderful weeks with. I really do wish I had some pictures of them. One of the many people I became friends with while at the vineyard was a young lady named Veronique. Vero had come from Cognac to work the grape harvest and try to make some money. She lived in Cognac with her husband Patrice and sweet baby boy Jeremy. Veronique left the harvest a little early, but before going, invited me to come and stay with her, Patrice, and Jeremy, and to work the vendange with Patrice at a vineyard just outside of Cognac. Journal entry continued, Monday, 10/4. Now I am at the house of Veronique, whom I met at the other farm. She's at home with her husband Patrice and their son Jeremy. They are really beautiful people. Mary Vaughn, Philippe, Olivia, and I came here with Jean-Louis yesterday. Jean-Louis was a fellow vineyard worker who had a car and who was going to Cognac. I will be starting the vendange here tomorrow and staying with Patrice and Vero. I really can't believe how fantastic everything has been. Thank you, Lord, very much for making life so great. Sunday, 10/10. Well, things are really fantastic. Philippe and Mary Vaughn and Olivia left on Wednesday. Since then, I've been working with Patrice and getting to know he and Vero very well. Patrice and I were working on a farm that was a few miles from their house. The farm was far enough away that we would often end up with frosty eyebrows after the early morning commute to get there. Each day one of us would ride the moped and the other would ride a bike while at the same time hanging onto the shoulder of the guy riding the moped, thus letting it pull him along. After a few weeks of going back and forth to work like this, I almost started to feel like a local boy going to a regular job. Patrice and Vero are very strong believers in God, and it's really great to be with them. They hope that in the near future they'll be able to start a community in the country. I pray that it happens for them. I might even end up helping them out. Let's see. Friday, 10:15. Well, it's been a wet week at the Vendange. It's all right, though. Today was given a change of clothes because my coat and shirt were so wet. The people at the farm are really fantastic. A few nights ago, we went to the house of Annika and Pierre, friends of Patrice and Vero. It was really fun. There was a guy named Patrick who spent about 4 years in the States. He has an amazing dog named Ash that eats fruits and nuts. I couldn't believe it when she ate some of my walnuts and then some pineapple. Yesterday, Patrice and Vero received a letter from Mary Vaughn and Philip. For some reason, Mary Vaughn said to say happy birthday to me. My birthday was actually in January. So tonight I was surprised with a little cake and a little clown made in Austria. His name is Joshua. Tuesday, 10:26. Well, many things have happened in the last week. I've become friends with Jack and Stella. They're really nice people. They have invited Patrice and Vero and I to come to their home for a week after the Vendange, so it looks like that's what we'll do. A few days ago, I painted a picture on Jeremy's bed, and I'm really happy with it. It was a painting of a teapot being used as a vase and holding a bouquet of flowers. I was in my cognac period. Yesterday, we began working on Mr. Buzanga, a man for Stella and Jack. It should be good. Mr. Buzanga was a life-size man made out of hay that we were planning to bring to Jack and Stella's as a thank you gift for inviting us to stay with them. I'd been tasked with painting Mr. Buzanga's face. Unfortunately, my interpretation of what he should look like turned out to be more of a scary guy in a dark alley than a friendly straw man. Vero walked into the dark living room one night, forgetting about Mr. Buzanga, and had a nasty fright when she was surprised, unpleasantly, by Mr. B sitting there in a chair. The next day he went through some changes and was transformed into more of a big lovable clown version of Mr. Buzanga. Fortunately, neither Jack nor Stella had a fear of clowns. Journal entry, Saturday, 10:30. Yay, the Vendange is finished. We finished yesterday. After work, we had a fantastic feast at the farmer's house. It was really great. Sunday, 11/7. Since Wednesday, Patrice, Vero, Jeremy, and I have been at Jack and Stella's farmhouse in the country. They really liked Mr. Buzanga, by the way. Jack is an amazing artist, and he and Stella are both very nice. Stella keeps a garden, and they have some excellent homegrown that she grew. It's scary nice. Yesterday I took a long walk, and it was really great. I saw a flock of wild geese going south. I also found a little bird, but was afraid to try and bring it all the way back, so I just put him in some shelter. Flash. Tonight, Stella and Vero gave Jack, Patrice, and I each a sack, and inside mine was a really fantastic sleeping shirt and some sleeping shorts, right out of Little House on the Prairie. The shorts aren't exactly my type, but the shirt is great. Jack and Stella lived in a great old country farmhouse, and although I think I remember a fireplace in the house, my bedroom did get pretty chilly at night. The wonderful vintage nightshirt I was given was thoroughly appreciated. Much of the time that we spent with Jack and Stella and Mr. Buzanga was spent simply enjoying the country, though we did try to pitch in and participate with chores wherever we could. One afternoon, while Patrice and Jack were in town, I thought it might be helpful to try and replace some of the broken clay tiles on the roof of the barn. Many of them were really old and really brittle. Although I did replace a number of the tiles, I may have broken about as many while crawling around on the big roof. If I remember correctly, That would be my only day of helping with roof repair. So that concludes chapter 7, the Vendange. Next go round, we'll be looking at chapter 8, which is entitled Paris. And that's what it's about. So once again, thanks so very much for taking your time to have a listen to this. I hope it was enjoyable. And a very happy 4th of July to you, coming right up in 2 days. Yeah. I know there's lots of places in the Bible. Well, we're encouraged in the Bible to pray for our leaders. So you know, I didn't. I think I'm encouraged to remember that around this 4th of July. Um, I think we can use all the help we can get. But for now, adios. All the best to you. Turn this thing off.